moment right now, it's a lot of things run through my mind, and I'm trying to actually um, sort of place myself in a border. Otherwise, I would give much more information than required at the moment. So these are the things that we'll be running through. We'll do a bit of introduction, and we'll talk about cybersecurity in general. Then we'll talk about pillars of cybersecurity. Then we'll talk about the opposite of those pillars. Then we come to some terminologies. We'll not do every single terminology right now because we may take a lot of time. So I don't want us to spend much time on the first day, at least, because when we get into the second day, when we start talking about hacking and hackers, that's going to be something very different. So we'll have to at least have the first day quite cool, then we jump into the other days. We'll look at various terminologies in the other days as well. So we'll just expose ourselves to few today, then we may probably have a demo based on how the class goes. So yeah, if you are ready for it, please send a message to the chat. Just you can send a thumbs up or something of that sort. Yeah. Okay. Uh, for those who are raising their hands, please bear with us for now. When we are done with the presentation, or we get to a point of the presentation, we would ask for questions and all of that, and then you can just bring in your inputs. But some of you didn't hear Bright say that the whole session is going to be recorded. So that's just for you. If that's something you would want to ask, please just know that the session will be recorded. So yeah, okay. I think we can just let's start. Okay. Okay. So introduction. Now, one of the things that I really want us to focus on is the fact that this is for complete beginners. Even if you are someone that has read much into cybersecurity and you feel you know quite a number of things, please, this is for complete beginners. And the point of this course is not to, it's a 1 week course. It's not for you to run through those 3-day boot camps that tell you that they'll take you from um, basic level to a sort of a zero to a hero level sort of thing. No, that's not what we are going to achieve here. If we tell you something of that sort, we are deceiving you. If you get a course that tells you that is going to take you from beginner to advanced within a week, yeah, I don't know what sort of course that is. Honestly, that is not a course for you to actually buy or even place your time into, because from the beginning they are telling you lies. We don't want to take that approach. So we'll go straight into what we can tell you. This is for complete beginners. By the time you are done, you'll be brought to a level where you would hunger for more. That's the plan, so that you would hunger for more. When you see, most of the times people feel like when you are a beginner, it is a boring phase of the whole learning process. Well, that is true. Being a beginner to every single thing is a boring phase for that period. One reason is that you end up feeling like there are a lot of things to cover, but then you are not making a lot of moves in the you're not making a lot of moves in a direction that to show that you are actually getting stuff and you can do stuff like how the masters do it. But one thing about masters is that every single thing that they end up implementing in that level, that advanced level, it was because they mastered the fundamentals. So it is never bad to be a complete beginner. When you are a complete beginner, that's a very good phase for you. It's actually a very, very good phase for you, because you get the prerequisites for even let's forget that aspect. Now, people have already gone through the phase that you are about going through, and good enough, they've laid out certain things for you to go through. The only thing that is required from you would be putting in your effort to be able to get the fundamentals really well. Now, you see, the world has programmed our mind to think that everything needs to be fast, shortcuts for every single thing. I listened to someone that said that you don't have to work hard, you have to just work smart. That quote is actually 50% true and 50% false. And if we have half truth, then that is just a total lie. There is nothing like half truth. Everything that is half truth is a complete lie. So if you hear someone telling you that you can work smart and not work hard, it's a lie. Because before you can even work hard, before you can even work smart, it requires hard work. There is no shortcut for hard work, honestly. There is no shortcut for hard work. You can't replace anything with hard work. A person that is working hard also works smart. It just works that way. So if you are here thinking that we are going to give you a sort of shortcut to becoming an advanced cyber security expert within a week, please, that's not what we are coming to do. Please go through these fundamentals really well. I listened to one interview that Elon Musk had, and the person was asking him that what exactly is the advice you would give to people concerning what they should do to get to the level that he is. And he mentioned this particular thing. He said, um, one advice you would ever give to people is that it is important to view knowledge as a sort of semantic tree. Then he made the analogy based on leaves, branches, and trunks. Then he said that fundamentals are the trunks and the big branches, and the advanced stuff are the leaves. He said if you end up getting to a position where there are adverse conditions, the thing that you can hold on to is the branch, not the leaves. So in this sense, he's making the analogy that until your foundation is really strong, there is nothing to hold on to when you get to a point where adverse conditions are hitting you. And that is the truth. It is the total truth. Unless you understand the fundamentals, you would have issues even talking with people who are advanced. There are a group of people, let me just chip this in. There are a group of hackers called script kiddies. Now, for script kiddies, there are people who don't understand fundamentals, but then they have the ability to hack into a system using existing tools. They use existing tools to hack into systems, and they cause great havoc. But when you actually sit down with them to ask them to explain the terminologies and the process they used, they have no idea. They just know that this is supposed to be done at this particular time and do this at this particular time, but they don't really actually have the required knowledge to teach someone who has no idea about the process they used. And that is very bad. That is very bad. That's how we are supposed to be. You see, I highlighted something over here, job opportunities. There are a lot. Actually, I think I opened up a survey over here. Let's just read the part that is highlighted. It says the International Information System Security Certification Consortium, that's ISC square, annual cybersecurity workforce study found a worldwide gap of 3.4 million cybersecurity workers. And that's after this workforce grew just over 11% from 2021 to 2022, adding 464,000 jobs last year alone. So in 2022 alone, 464,000 jobs were added to the cybersecurity field. Honestly, let me tell you the truth. It's going to just increase exponentially every single time. The reason is we are seeing digital stuff coming up. Every single day, there is a new technology that is coming up. And the more technology increases, or the more there are advancements in technology, the more there is the need for security. So there is never going to be a time where those who are into security will not be needed. Because if new technology comes, there will be someone that will be needed to manage that technology in terms of security. And the only thing that can actually give you that advantage over every other person is the fundamentals you have. I didn't actually listen to a wise man. I read a wise man once say that he was telling a parable and he made a statement that there was a man who built his house upon the rock or a rock, and the rain descended, floods came, wind blew, a lot of adverse conditions came against that house, but that house was still standing. Then he talked about another person, and he said that person also built a house, but this particular person, his house was built on sand. And when the same conditions that happened in the first scenario came and hit this person's house, the house fell. And he actually characterized the falling as great. That's exactly what is happening to a lot of people in the job field right now. Because foundations are not solid, they are being replaced by artificial intelligence. Trust me, if you do have a strong understanding of your fundamentals, oh my goodness, that's all. You have an advantage over every single thing. And I'm already working in the field, so I've seen what people want. You go for interviews concerning jobs, and they don't ask you advanced questions. They ask you basic things. And if you're preparing for such an interview, your mind will be going to the advanced things because they'll give you requirements. And when you check the requirements, you think they're coming to ask you very huge things. No, they don't do that. They always go back to the basics because everything rests upon the basics. I'm stressing on this particular thing because a lot of people would want a shortcut. No, that's not how we do it. That's why we've come up with a free session for fundamentals to be taught. At least we can't cover every single thing in this 1 week, but at least we would give you something small so that when you end up meeting people who are already in the field, you can also rub your shoulders with them, knowing that you have a bit of knowledge in the field. Okay, now we can move on to what cybersecurity actually is. Okay, so this is a picture of a mom and then her baby. The reason why I actually placed this particular picture over here is because when you get into the field or you listen to people who talk, they make reference to information security and cyber security. Um, I'm a firm believer that names are important. I'm a firm believer that names are important, and interchanging names do not work for me, especially when you end up meeting a certain class of people. Interchanging names do not work. Even though some people will just tell you that, oh, it's not really important, but it actually is important. There is a difference between information security and cyber security. Now, information security is the mother of cyber security. All forms of security actually are a part of information security. So when we talk about network security, it's a part of information security. Any form of security that you can think of is a part of information security. Now, you see, most of the times when we end up talking about data, there are two things that come into our mind. The moment I even said data, I know two things run through your mind. The first one was the bundle that we normally buy, which you are actually using to connect to this meeting right now. That's the first thing that comes to almost everyone's mind, because nowadays our talk is all about bundle, how MTN has taken over the what's the name of that bundle even? I've forgotten the name. That's bundle, how MTN took up that bundle, and then it is stressing a lot of people. Most of us, our minds are focused on such a thing.
Zone bundle.
Thank you, zone bundle. Exactly. So zone bundle, our mind is focused on zone bundle. But then when we talk about data as well, so I spoke about the zone on the bundle stuff, and then the second one is digital information. Anytime we think about data, we think of anything that is stored on a computer or anything that can be accessed on a computer. So maybe our Excel worksheets and all of that, we think about those stuff as data. But one of the things we always almost always forget, is the fact that everything that proceeds out of your mouth, oh my goodness, everything that comes out of your mouth is actually data as well. Even your thoughts, things that are running through your mind, data. Your emotions being expressed, data. You not even talking, expressions from how you look at someone, how you frown your face, that is data. And all of these, they have to be secured. Let me give you an example. So now, everybody has a Ghana card. And I think right now the issue that we are hearing from people is that the Ghana card, some people's Ghana cards were used to register other SIMs. And as a result of that thing, what is happening is that someone can impersonate whoever's Ghana card he used. He can impersonate that person by, if the person goes to commit a crime and they come and meet me to trace the person's number, the name I would find is the person's name that was used to register that particular SIM. Are you seeing the issue there? That form of data it's because it's a physical device. We normally don't consider it as, or a physical stuff. We normally don't consider it as data, but it's also data because you already have your name on it, you have your date of birth on it, you have whatever identifies you as a Ghanaian, that's ID. You find all of that on that stuff. It is important to protect all of that, even your medical records. Now, even medical records can be in two forms. One, it can be digital, it can be physical. I think most of the hospitals that are traditional, especially government hospitals, they don't normally use systems to key in our information. I think they are now trying to transition to those systems, but they still mostly use papers, which is very bad. But then we are not here to talk about that. Just to give an example of data that needs to be secured under information security. Now, anything, so when we talk about information security, we are talking about data being protected in any form at all, whether it is mental data, whether it is physical data, whether it's emotional data, whether it is digital data, what have you. That thing has to be protected. That data has to be protected. You see, most of us don't pay attention to whatever comes out of our mouth. It's very bad. Let me give you an example. I was okay. Let me not use that example. Let me not use that example. Let me just use this one rather. Okay. So let's say you have a friend of yours, a very good friend who you normally have conversations with. Now, what happens at that particular time is that you end up establishing trust with your friend that you can share anything at all with your friend. If I'm the one that you are having conversations with, my friends can tell you for a fact that I normally, when they're having conversations with me, I normally don't say much about myself. I normally ask them I ask them questions. When they bring up a topic, I will be asking them questions. That's how it works with me. I don't say much about myself because I know what can be done with whatever a person says about himself. Now, if a person begins to establish trust with you, what happens is that you can share a lot with that person. And the moment you share a lot with that person, you've already exposed your weaknesses to that person. And the moment you expose your weaknesses to that person can use those weaknesses against you. Let's say you are a kind of person that always talks about your emotional stuff. Every single time you are to one friend of yours, you are talking about how emotional you are. This particular thing gets to you, that particular thing gets to you, and your friend is always listening to you. At one point in time, you can attest for a fact that your friend will do the same thing to you because you've already exposed that information about yourself to him or her. So it is important to protect every form of data. Whatever comes out of your mouth is important to protect. Think before you talk. Don't just open your mouth and be saying every single thing. No, have some sort of a sort of, how will I put it? Secure what comes out of your mouth. You have to protect yourself. The best thing to hacking is not a computer. The best thing to hack is a human being. Let me give you an example. So about 2 weeks ago, I told a friend of mine, I actually placed it on my status that it's a Saturday and I just want to have some fun with hacking. So I told them that I need one person that I can just hack. So a friend of mine sent a message that I should hack the person. So I was like, okay, fine. So what I did was that What the person wanted me to do, I knew that it was going to take a lot of time because when you tell someone that you are a hacker, the person will just normally girls will just send you a message and be like, can you hack someone's WhatsApp for me? You ask who is the person will be like, my boyfriend. Please. It is not as easy to as you think. There are ways to go about it, but that's not the point. I'm not going to talk about the ways, otherwise some people will just go and research on it and then they'll start doing it. That's not the point. I'm not here to even talk about that. So I decided to just play human hacking. We call social engineering. That's what is actually called social engineering. Social engineering is trying to establish trust with someone. And when you establish trust with that person, you exploit the you get to understand the whole concept of exploitation, threats, and vulnerabilities very soon. No worries about that. So this person has been my friend for a very long time. So I knew exactly what to use against the person so that I'll get the information I wanted. So there is this email of mine that I don't really use for anything. I exactly that's just a tip as well. Let me just give you a tip. Create a dummy email that you don't care about. Create a dummy email you don't care about. That one is what you use to log in into whatever thing you want to log in into. But create an email that you'd use for personal stuff, as in important, really important stuff. That's one you don't actually use it for just logging into any page at all. You are trying to do your thesis as a final year student, and you find a particular article somewhere, then they'll tell you log in before you can download. Then you just use your email that you use for every single thing. No, you are placing yourself at a risk of exposure and breaching. It's not supposed to be so. So I was having a conversation with this person, and then I went online. I just went to do some bits of stuff that I'm not going to go really into. Then I exposed the fact that that email was once breached. That is my own email. I know that email was breached in one of the data breaches in 2019. I didn't really care about it. So I used that particular thing, took a screenshot of the message that your email has been breached, and I sent it to the person. Then I told the person that the email has been breached. I can confirm that the email has been breached. But right now, I can't really confirm whether the passwords to the email was found. So I asked the person to just send me every detail that the person has concerning um, the account that the person has on Twitter, every single thing. So the person sent me Gmail, Snapchat, every single thing. And I was just looking at the person. I was like, yeah, human beings are easily the ones to be hacked. I enjoy social engineering. It is all about just establishing trust. And you can establish trust for over 5 years. you, hackers are crazy. They can start hacking you for 10 years, be your very close friend, and will be hacking you. It's like that. I'm just saying all this so that you know that it is important to protect the information that comes out of you, because human beings are the weakest link in terms of security. Human beings are the weakest link in terms of security. And I think you guys have watched it in movies for a very long time. Human beings are always the weakest link in terms of security. Now, when we talk about cybersecurity, anytime we think of the word cyber, we are talking about systems and we are talking about networks. So the very moment your information is found on a network, and the moment I'm talking about network over here, I'm talking about internet or even any local area network, in any wide area network, any form of network at all. The moment you think about cybersecurity, you have to think about the network, any network at all. So the moment your information is found on that network, it needs to be protected. So you can see that cybersecurity is a part of information security, because information security actually takes charge of every single thing. So information security is the mother. It takes care of cybersecurity, it takes care of network security, it even takes care of physical security. So when you think of information security, think of it like the mom, and when you think of cybersecurity, think of it like the child. Cybersecurity has to deal with the cyberspace, or that's the digital space or the digital world. Now, one of the things that you have to know is that these 2 points are becoming extremely valid. They are becoming extremely valid day in, day out, just because of the increase of knowledge in terms of technology. As a result of the increase in the knowledge in technology, there is a need for these two. Every single time. You see, you've been hearing that walls have ears. You think it's a joke. It's not a joke. Walls have ears. I would actually advise people. I'm giving you free advice before we continue. I actually advise people that your social media pages, please watch whatever you post there, especially when it can be linked to you. When your social media can be linked to you, I beg you, watch whatever you post there, because a lot of us begin to expose a lot of things about ourselves that you cannot even pattern. Let me show you something. Let me show you something. I think I have something I can demo on this one. You can still see my screen, right?
Yes, we can.
Let me show you something. Let me show you something. Let me show you something quickly. Let me use this. All right, we'll get into this one time, but let me show you something. I think I have that somewhere. Now, look at something. Oh, just look at something. That's what I just opened is actually an image. You can see that is an image. This was a ransom letter to something. Okay, we'll not go deep into that one, but look at something. Now, this is an image that we opened. Now, pay attention to what an image alone can expose about you. Now, it can show the camera model that was used. It can show that. It can show the camera model that was used to take a picture. So if you begin to post pictures online, I can end up knowing that it is an iPhone 13 that you normally use for your pictures and blah, blah, blah. Then I begin to write out an attack for you just by using a picture that you posted online. Now, let's go down. You're going to see a lot of things. It's even showing the shutter speed for the camera for a Canon EOS R6 camera. It's showing a lot of things. Now it is showing the GPS. It is showing the GPS. I wouldn't want to really go into all of that. I'm just exposing you to few things that this thing can show. Just few things. Just few things. I should have even exposed you to the PDF one. I think there is one for the PDF. I don't want us to go much into all of this, but just look at it for now. Now it is showing you even when the picture was taken. A lot of information, and people will be wondering what exactly can this information do. Now look at this, the GPS latitude. Now when you take this particular thing and then you search for it in Google, it would Google Maps, it will show you exactly where the information was taken. So now the picture was taken. So now think about this. You always take picture in front of a particular building every single time, and every single time you are exposing that picture on your WhatsApp status, or you're exposing that picture on how do you put it, Twitter. And then I am a bad actor. Let me take myself as a bad actor over here, and I want to hack you, or I want to build a whole attack surface on just you. Now I've taken the image, and then I look at the time that it was created or it was taken, and I also look at the GPS information. Now I can always see that you are always at somewhere around Lashibi. Every single time you are at Lashibi, pointing to a particular location. Now I can know that you stay at Lashibi. So when I come to you and we are having a conversation, this is what I'll tell you. I can just hit you up one time and I'll be like, oh, maybe I'll find a way to become your friend. That one, because we are even on social media, Twitter alone, I can send you a direct message. Now, I'll spend some time getting to know you as a friend. Then one day I'll just ask you, where do you stay? And you tell me Lashibi, and I'll be like, oh, I also stay at Lashibi. That is a trust being built. That alone is a trust being built. That alone is a trust being built. It is crazy. I think, come in, let me check this as well. Once I just establish that trust, I'm done with you. It's finished for you. It's finished for you. Every information about you can just be found with me. I can just do anything at all without your information. Now, look at what PDFs also do. When you create a PDF, your name is attached to it. Arthur and Green Shepherd. just few things. Oh, I'm beginning to know whoever created the PDF and blah blah blah. And this can also create an attack surface for a hacker. I'm not really trying to go deep into these things because it's not a part of the course. I'm just trying to make you guys know that it's important for you to watch what you post online, because a person can use whatever you post online to hack you. So like I was saying, I know your GPS location. I tell you that I also stay at Lashibi. Then I make a statement of the sort like, can we meet sometime? If you are someone who loves outing, based on whatever you post on your Twitter, I always see that you like going out. I gather that information about you and I be like, oh, can we just meet at this particular point? I want to sponsor you. We go, we take coffee. First day, we are not going to really do anything. We just talk. We just talk. Free talk. Friends. We'll be friends. Like, oh, we'll become good friends. Then another time I tell you that, oh, can we meet again? You said yes. And I tell you, bring your laptop along. And when you bring your laptop along, within that session, I tell you that, oh, I'm a very good computer scientist. And if you want me to check some things for you, I check it for you. Now, I have access to your machine. Now, with a simple pen drive, and that pen drive being configured to work as a hacking tool, I can just insert it into your machine, and within 5 to 10 seconds, I have control of your webcam. Now, you will not know. If I have control of your webcam, you will not know. I'll hide the process in the processes that are already running. An example is Explorer. Every time that you end up opening your system, Explorer is always running. So I would hide the process in Explorer. I'm just giving you what a hacker would do, like the steps, so that you know how serious this thing is. I'll hide the process in Explorer. Now, when I hide the process in Explorer, anytime you start your machine, it will mean that that process would automatically run with Explorer. So you'll be sitting there and I will be having control of your machine and be looking directly into your face. I think you've watched this severally in movies and people think it is a joke. It is not. It's a real thing that happens. So watch whatever you post online. Pay attention to whatever you post online. Create a dummy account. That's just free advice anyway. Create a dummy account for anything at all that you want to do. Create a dummy account. Don't expose yourself much online, but have an account that you can also use for your work, because right now, especially in the cyberspace, they want people to contribute online. They really want people to be contributing online. You go for job interviews and then they ask you, what articles have you written? Or can we see your social media page whether you've been sharing things online? Do you have a blog? Stuff of that sort. So I'm giving you free advice or free advice. Free advice. Contribute online. Don't just learn things and keep them to yourself. Contribute online. Well, let's move on from this one. So information security is the mother of all forms of security. Cybersecurity is the baby. Cybersecurity has to do with data in the digital form. Information security has to do with all forms of data, mental data, even spiritual data. That's just jokes, by the way. Anyway, now every building, like we established earlier, we're making statements of the sort that information security. Okay, I think I didn't need to make that statement, but information security is like a building, and it has compartments within it. One of the compartments is cybersecurity. There are other forms of security anyway. Now, for a house to always stand, you know that there are pillars that are supposed to hold the house in place. Now, cybersecurity is also a house, or information security in general is also a house, and it needs pillars to hold them in place. Now, the pillars that hold cybersecurity in place are called the CIA triad. And when we say the CIA triad, we are not making mention of the the Central Intelligence Agency of the US. No, they do they do similar things anyway, but that is not what we're actually talking about. What we are talking about is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality, integrity, availability. These are the things that cybersecurity actually runs on. These are the basics, the fundamentals of cybersecurity. Everything we'll end up talking about, or everything we'll end up doing later on, must rest on confidentiality, integrity, and availability. If one of these pillars is not in place, cybersecurity is not in place, or security in general is not in place. If one of these is breached, security is not in place. It's just like a building, right? So if one pillar of the house is broken completely, that's the end for the house. The house will collapse. That's the same way cybersecurity works. Now, when we talk about confidentiality, I think everybody can understand this in a particular setting. I think I should try and give an example that is common or that is relatable. Then I talk about it in the computer idea. Okay, so now when we talk about confidentiality, you see, when it comes to we human beings, some of us pay attention to whoever we open up to. Some of us pay attention to whoever we open up to. I know, especially with emotional stuff, we don't end up telling just anybody. There are few people that we tell. I know one of the people who would never tell our parents. Most of us, most Ghanaians never tell their parents whatever is happening to them emotionally. Let me give you if you end up going to tell your mom that something that has happened to you that is chewing you up within, and you tell her confidentially, or you tell her in a manner that she's not supposed to share it with anybody, the next minute her husband will hear it. When the husband hears it, the next thing your sibling will hear it. By the time you realize, your aunties would hear it. And by the time your aunties hear it, your aunties' friends would hear it. Then by the time you also know your number has reached your great-grandparents, ancestors, they would hear it. Your ancestors, everybody would hear it. You start receiving strange calls. So most of the times, we don't even try to share information with our parents because we are afraid that they will end up sharing that information somewhere. But then, there are few people that we share information with. Now, when we share information with them, most of the time we tell them that don't go and tell this person or don't go and share it with any person. Why do we say that? Because the information is so important to us. We term it as private. So when we talk about confidentiality, it is talking about privacy. It's talking about keeping information private. Or when we talk about confidentiality as a whole, we're talking about keeping information private so that only people who are authorized to that information can have access to that information. So if you are not authorized to have access to that information and you have access to that information, you've breached confidentiality. I know many boys have had conversations with ladies, and whilst they were having the conversation with ladies, they ask them a question, and then especially concerning age, and then ladies will tell you that they don't. I think it has become a normal thing where the world has agreed on it that we don't ask for a lady's age. So you end up going to them and you ask them, what is your age? And then they'll tell you it is confidential. That information, I don't know how confidential it is because you go online and then their Twitter bio, they add it to it. Birthday on March 20th, 1998. Then you add the celebration emojis. It's so funny. A lot of information is found online. I don't know why people even try to say things are confidential anymore. But that's how things actually are. Information is supposed to be kept private. Every information about you is supposed to be kept private. Now, let me use this particular thing and then we jump into integrity. Now, you see medical records. One of the things that I actually hate about Ghanaian medical doctors is that they don't pay attention to the medical records of people that visit them. Most of them actually. They can carry your information outside of the hospital and be sharing it with loved ones. Now, it is a breach of contract, but in Ghana here, nothing is enforced. It's a breach of contract and it's a breach of confidentiality because I come to you with a personal information. I'm telling you that this and this is what is wrong with me. You've prescribed drugs to me, and as a result of prescribing drugs, you've prescribed drugs to me. Everything about me, you've written it down. You are saying that I have diabetes or something of that sort. Then you go home and then you go and share it with your wife that a patient came today who was 12 years old. A patient came today that was 10 years old, and the patient is diabetic. And you give the person drugs and all of that. That thing is not good. It's a breach of confidentiality. The message is no more private because your wife is not authorized to have that information. It's a breach on confidentiality. Now, let's bring it to the workplace setting. Now, you are at work, and they tell you at work that you are going to be having an internal audit where maybe a cybersecurity personnel would come inside and begin to test out you guys' stuff. Now, you go home and then you go and share it with someone, telling the person that, oh, tomorrow at work we'll be doing such an information, but they told you guys to keep it confidential because you don't want others to know that you are trying to make your systems more secure. Then you go and share it with someone. Imagine that person is a bad actor. And when we talk about bad actors, there are people that just hack for illegal reasons. They just do evil things. That's their mindset. That's why they are called bad actors. So that, as for them, they just want to do bad. I think I saw a question where someone was saying, "Will we get the slides?" Says you get the slides. Don't worry at all. You get all the slides. So, okay. So now you go and share it with someone that the person has an evil mind, someone that has been planning to attack your company for so long. You know, most of us take this thing so trivially because our companies don't end up telling us that things are ongoing. I would have shared something that happened at one of the top companies with you, but I signed an NDA. I can't share it. But things are happening in Ghana that they are not exposing. A lot of things are happening in Ghana, and most of the things is because humans are opening their mouth too much, breaching confidentiality. Now, imagine that you've given an info. You know, there was a study one time. Okay, even forget the study. Let's just bring it to our level. Let's say you have a friend that you told your friend that keep this information private whilst you share the information with the person. Then the person goes to tell another person. Then another person goes to tell another person. Then another person goes to tell another person. Now, you see, already confidentiality has been breached, or the pillar of confidentiality has been destroyed totally. Has the information, and the person doesn't know that it is about you, because the person that was sharing the information, the person that you told another person that don't tell the person that told me said I shouldn't tell anybody. So they are trying to cover whoever said it, but they are giving out the information. That is also breach of confidentiality anyway. Then they come to, so your friend now has the information, and then the friend now wants to narrate the information to you, and the friend says that this is what he heard from the last person that told him. Now you realize that the information has changed. You realize that the information has changed totally. What you ended up telling your friend, there is a bit of information that you, a bit of truth in it, but they've changed every single thing. Now people are trying to find who it is. Then they ended up finding out that it was you. Even your friend that came to tell you the information later on found out that it was you that gave the information to one other person, and then the information traveled. But now the information has been modified. Whatever you told your friend has been modified and has been made worse. Somehow about 50% different from what you even said. So now everybody is seeing you very terrible than how you are supposed to even be seen. Now, when that thing happens, data has been altered, and any alteration in data is what is called a breach of integrity. So the moment you have data that has been breached, altered in any sense at all, you have a breach of integrity. Now, for people who are gamers, you realize, or people who download stuff from torrent sites, one thing that happens to you guys is that when you download a game or any file at all, you realize that, especially for uTorrent users, I know uTorrent users at least, there is an aspect that says skip hash. You see something of that sort. When you're talking about a hash, it's just a string of characters. They are actually algorithms that were written. I don't know whether everybody here is a computer scientist, so let me just talk about what an algorithm basically is. An algorithm is like a recipe, but a recipe for computers, telling them do this and do that and do that and do that, and this is the outcome you should get. So stuff of that sort is an algorithm. Now, an algorithm was written to check the integrity of something, and that basically means that to check whether the data was modified or whether it is still original as how it is, as how it was made. That's how the information should be. Now, when you download a file from a torrent site and it tells you to check the hash is just a string of characters used to check the integrity. That is to see whether the information has been altered or not. When you see it in your uTorrent or whatever torrent downloader you have, please don't click on skip hash. Don't do that. One of the things that can happen to you is that when you do that thing, you create for yourself issues. Now, let me show you something. Let me show you something quickly so that you know what exactly I mean. Which browser should I use? Okay. No. Let me create this. Okay. Now look at something. Oh, just look at something. Now let's copy the MD2 algorithm. It's a type of algorithm for hashes. So let's just copy that and place it here. Now pay attention to these. Oh, this is the hash that is given. Now let's look at what I titled. This is a cyber class. Let's just change this to a capital letter. We change the small letter of A to a capital letter. And let's just check the hash again. Now, we are coming to compare the two. Now, see what has happened. This was the original data. Now, see what has happened here. It has changed completely. And if I'm a malicious person and I know that you are not going to check your hashes or you're not going to check the integrity of the file that you download, what I'll do is that I'll just change one character or add something small to that download that you are making, and it will make it a malware. And when we talk about a malware, we are basically talking about a malicious software. Malicious software, malware. So a malicious software that can do anything that I want based on how I program it to act. I'll gain access to your whole system just by changing few things within your system. Just few things. Look at how the hash is completely different. Just by changing one letter, the hashes are different. So we should be paying attention to such an information. Now, a common example of integrity that we don't really pay attention to is when we go to the exam hall and then we carry our ID cards or our student IDs. When we get to the exam hall, the invigilator is supposed to check whether whoever is standing in front of him is whoever he is or whoever he says he is. So the name on the ID, even the picture and every other thing must correlate with whoever is standing in front of the invigilator. If the picture that you took 4 years ago is totally different from you, you've breached integrity. Actually, that's actually supposed to raise an alarm, but because we Ghanaians, we don't really care. If nothing, your current state looks nothing like how you were 4 years ago, and you come to an exam hall. Actually, that invigilator is supposed to raise an alarm because you are breaching integrity. Because what is modified at that particular time is your face. Your face on the ID does not look at all like what you are presenting in front of him. So that's a breach of integrity. That's just by the way, anyway. So now these things are very much important, and we need to pay much attention to them. Now, imagine you have data. You have data that is placed on your external hard disk drive, and you've even locked your external hard disk drive strongly. Like the password is so strong that you yourself you don't even remember. 48 characters with a lot of symbols and a lot of stuff you don't even know. Yourself, you can't keep it in your mind because it doesn't make sense to you in the first place. You've locked up your hard disk. You finished logging up your hard disk. No data has been altered on it, but then you realize that the hard disk cannot be found at any time. Let me give you an example. You have all of your past questions for your academic year stored on this particular thing. You have all the past questions stored on the hard disk. That's why you even logged it in the first place. And you told yourself that, oh, Charlie, exam time there, you're just going to go through all the past questions and then you'll be set. Even your slides are stored over there. So you'll be set. There is nothing to worry about. Then you ended up sharing this information with a friend of yours that is very close to you. Then your friend knows, and your friend also knows that you've placed the password on it, and your friend doesn't know that password. But your friend decides that during revision week, he will take the hard disk away from you. That thing that your friend has done for you or to you is actually a breach of the pillar of cybersecurity called availability. What is the use of data that has been totally kept in privacy? What is the use of data that has not been altered when it is not available? Data that is available has to be available 24/7, no matter the location, no matter the time, it has to be available. These are the three things that cybersecurity rests on. These are the three things that cybersecurity rests on. So the goal of the CIA triad is actually to ensure that information is stored accordingly, and it is stored accurately and stored consistently until authorized changes are made. Until a person is authorized to make a change to the system or to make a change to the data, there is no other time that any person should have access to that. There is no other time. Now, there are things that we call access controls. Let me just keep that in. Access controls. Access controls. Normally, when you go to a company, or when you go to a company, you realize that normally these big companies, not most of the ones that we have in some villages. When you go to the company, you realize that the employees, they have certain cards to access certain rooms. Now, your card should also be given a restriction for certain other rooms. You can have access to a particular room, but not another room. So the cards that you have within you should have access to a particular room and not another room. If every employee has a card that can give him access to every part of the room, then that is not security at its maximum. That is actually false sense of security. Nobody is safe. Nobody is safe in any sense at all. Are we getting it? Now, when we talk about confidentiality, that aspect of confidentiality, when we are talking about ensuring that confidentiality is at place, we have to look at encryption, we have to look at passwords, we have to look at biometrics, we have to look at something they call two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication. An example of a two-factor authentication thing that is really common with us is what WhatsApp recently introduced, where you go to their the settings and then you enable two-step verification. Now, the reason why it is called two-factor authentication is because authentication works on three things. There are actually three types of authentication. We have the type 1, type 2, type 3. The type 1 answers the question, what you know. It answers the question, what you know. The type 2 answers the question, what you have. The type 3 answers the question, what you are. So an example of the type 1, which is what you know, is a password. The type 2 is a card or a token that is given to you. The type 3, biometrics. That is your facial recognition, your fingerprints, and all of that. Now, WhatsApp just introduced two-factor authentication. Now, when it is two-factor authentication, it means that different examples of the how will I put this? Different examples of the types I just spoke of. That is what you know. The types of authentication that I just spoke of. Different ones from the same type are used. So let me give an example. WhatsApp, for instance, the two-factor authentication, you know your number, and then they send you a PIN that you use to access your WhatsApp. Now they tell you that you should have a PIN for yourself, or you should know a PIN for yourself that you would use. So every time that WhatsApp prompts you that you should enter that particular PIN, you enter that particular PIN. If you don't enter that particular PIN, it means you are not the one. Then they can lock up your system, or they can lock up your WhatsApp because you don't know it. So that is two-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication is when you know a PIN. That's what normally iPhone users have when they turn off their phones and then they turn it back on. You turn off your phones and then it will tell you that you should enter your PIN before you can access the biometrics, where you can use your face, or even I think Samsung users, they have the fingerprint sensors and all of that. But firstly, you would have to enter your PIN because you're using a type 2, a multi-factor authentication over there. You're using a type 1, what you know, and then a type 3, who you are by your face and whatever you end up typing in. That is the type 1. Now we can leave this particular thing. I don't want us to spend much time on this. So now let's talk about the opposite of the various pillars. Anytime that confidentiality is breached, we have disclosure. So we have CIA and we have DAD. I spoke about these things at length. So we have confidentiality. The opposite of confidentiality is disclosure. The opposite of integrity is alteration. And the opposite of availability is distraction. The moment data is not available, it is supposed to be assumed as destroyed. That's what security says. The moment your data is not available, that data is destroyed. That data is destroyed. That data is destroyed. I think to this point, I would I would take some questions if you have some. So you can end up sending your questions to the chat. I'll take some questions before we continue. So okay. I'm going to assume that everybody understands everything till this point. I don't know whether I'm going to tell myself I'm a good teacher or something. If that's the case, then Charlie, my head is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Ooh, someone just said, "Oh, clear, prof." Oh, my head, my head, my head, my head. Okay, someone just said I should talk about integrity again. Okay, so now when we talk about integrity, we are talking about information not being altered or information being in its complete form, basically. So now if you look at this particular image, the one in the middle on the screen right now, you realize that, let's start from the circle. Now, when integrity is breached, you realize that the circle is no longer a circle, now it is a square. In the original form, it was a circle, but as a result of integrity being breached, it became a square. Now, if we even look at this square as the original form, when integrity was breached, it changed to this. So when we talk about integrity, we are just talking about data being in its original form, nothing being changed about it. Now, let me give you the example of the medical record stuff again. So your data is within a system on the database of the hospital. Let's just say Kolebu. Now, I am a bad actor who has gotten access to the database of Kolebu. Now, I have access to every information of yours on there. If I target you as someone that I want to kill, now what I'll do is that I will change your records. Maybe they've written that you are a high blood pressure how would I even put it, patient. So you are having the risk of high blood pressure, and they've written drugs that are very good for you. Now what I'll do is that I'll go and research drugs that are very terrible for people with high blood pressure, but then are good for a particular sickness. What I'll then do is to alter that information. I'll change that information and use the drugs. I'll write a different condition for you, and then I'll recommend the drugs that will kill you. The moment I do that, I'm saying this thing, please, let me just make this disclaimer. I forgot to even make this disclaimer before we even started teaching. I just remembered. Please, everything that I'll say here is for just learning purposes. So if you if you go and use it for your own evil intentions, I don't know you. Bright also doesn't know you. We don't know you. We beg. We don't know you. If I'm saying all these things, I'm not saying these things so that you go and practice them. I'm saying them so that we would learn. Please, the examples I've given are for just learning purposes. I beg you. Okay, so oh, stop it. Okay, now let's continue. Anyway, so I go and change your information in the database, and then I just give you a wrong disease and I prescribe wrong drugs for you, and I keep the doctor's name like that. Most of the times, doctors even don't review whatever they've written down in their stuff. So you would see them you would see that they've recommended a drug for a person, and then they will not pay attention to that information. So the person can just take that information. One time the folder would come, and then a nurse will just give you, take your folder or open up your file and just be like, okay, let me look straight at the drug that you are supposed to take. Then you tell you to go to the pharmacy. Then you write the same drug for you. Then you go and take it. Now you are a high blood pressure person, and I just killed you. I'll just kill you just by changing the information, just by modifying the information. So integrity means that the information has to be intact. Nothing has to change about it. And that's when I gave the example of the hash, and where we realized that I changed, this is a cyber class. I changed this alphabet over here. It was firstly a small letter. That's the complete information. That's what we wanted. And then I later on changed it to a capital letter. Then we realized that the hashes changed. So I was saying that there are some things called hashes and checksums. We'll talk about them later in the course. Don't worry. That's when we come to attacks and attackers and all of that. We'll talk about those things in that aspect. But for now, would leave it at just knowing that hashes are single. There are strings of characters that are based on algorithms, and then they end up identifying whether something that you've downloaded or you are downloading, or any program at all, is in its complete form and has not been modified for it to be a malicious software or something of that sort that will end up compromising your integrity or compromising your confidentiality or whatever pillar it is of this CIA triad. So I think the person that asked the question, are you clear on this? Hello, the person that asked the question, are you clear? Okay, feel free. Please ask the question. And I'm not say just say my guy, and we can move.
Okay, yeah, I'm clear.
I should talk on the opposites of the pillars. Okay, no problem. Now, that's a very good question. What if data or information is outdated? Is it? What if data or information is outdated? Now, when data is outdated and it is not in its present form, like what is happening right now, that's a bad look for every company. Now, it breaks the CIA triad in this sense. Now, the confidentiality aspect of it, that's fine, but the integrity aspect of it, it is bringing a question of whether the information that is over there is in its complete form or not. Oh, there are questions already asked. I see. I didn't even see those ones. Okay, I'll look at them. Don't worry. Please, how can we identify if an information sent contains a malware? Please, I'll come to that. I'll come to that. Don't worry. I'll come to that. Let me just answer this person. Now, when information is outdated, it is not capturing what the current information is. So a person that gets access to that information, actually, it's of no use to the person. It is of no use to the person, but then it is a bad look for every company, because it means that the company is not current, and they are security measures are not being taken into consideration. Now, let me give you an example of a bank. Now, let me give you an example of a bank. Okay, someone is talking about Cali Purple. That's for defense. No problem. We'll talk about all of that later on. Now, let me give you an example of a bank. Now, let's say you have an amount of money that is supposed to be in your bank account, like a huge amount of money. You've deposited something really new, a huge amount of money into your account, and the bank doesn't actually make a record of that information. The truth in the sense is that your money in its complete form is about $1 million. Let's say it's about $1 million. But what has been written in their system is that your money is 500,000 Ghana cedis. That's what they've written in their system. Now, when you are going to withdraw your money, the issue that is going to bring is that it's going to bring the issue of integrity, in the sense that now they are not going to know whether you are the one that is saying the truth or they are the ones that are saying the truth, because right now we can't actually verify whether the information that is within their system is the right one or the information from you is the right one. So it is actually giving a bad look for companies when they are not updating their information. I've given you a bank as an example. Now, when you are going to withdraw that amount of money from the bank, you will not be able to withdraw that amount of money from the bank because it will not be available. So you see that it is breaking integrity and availability. The questions are really interesting. We have a lot of things to talk about, no problem. So I'll handle those ones, don't worry. Let me just talk about this a bit. So you realize that you will not be able to have access to the money readily available, and that is because integrity was already broken. I already said that the CIA triad looks at ensuring that information is stored accurately. The accuracy of information is important. When you break accuracy of the information, you are breaking the integrity of that information. It is no longer true. So when a person keeps data that is outdated, that is breaking accuracy. And if I am a person that wants to access that information, in the case of the bank, then I'm looking at the issue of availability. I want to withdraw 700,000 Ghana cedis from my account, and you are telling me that it is 500 that is in, but I've already inputted 700 $1 million. So that is a cheat, and that's not supposed to be done. So I hope this person, the person that asked the question, is clear on that particular aspect. Okay, I think. Okay, let me move on to some other questions. Please, how can we identify if an information sent contains malware? Okay, that question is a very good question, but it's not in the scope of this particular course. But I'll oh my goodness, should I talk about it? Okay, one of the ways that you can do that is using the hash. So most programs actually come with hashes. I actually talked about the hash, for instance. There are other things you can do, which will be okay. Let me just announce something very quickly. And my boss basically didn't tell me to announce it, but let me just announce it. So there is going to be, this is just a fundamentals class, but we'll be having a class where we'll take people from beginner to intermediate, and then we'll also have a class where we'll take intermediate to advanced. So we'll have that session. When we have that session, we'll basically go into the details of getting to handle issues with malware. I said we'll be handling malware in this course. And I think some people didn't join early, so they didn't hear that we'll be having a session on malware. Did I say we'll have a session on malware? We'll have a session on malware. Don't worry about that. We'll have attacks. When we talk about attacks, we'll have a malware session. I'll touch a bit, just a small bit on this particular thing, and that will be on the 3rd or 4th day. I'll touch a small bit on this particular thing so that you will have something to learn when you end up registering for the main course. So from beginner to advanced and all of that. Okay. So yeah, about the Kali purple, yeah, it came out recently. It's basically just for defense. For those who are in the blue teamers would understand the blue teamers as soon as possible. Please, what about people that use Truecaller to get information from an unknown number? Is that a breach? No, that is actually not a breach. Actually, there are some information that you've already placed online. You've placed every information of yours online. When I sit down and then I have your information, let me give an example. I wanted to log in into something, but when I log in into something, it is just going to expose who I am. So it's better I don't. Now, when you go to your LinkedIn, most of the times when you go to LinkedIn, you realize contact information is there. There is something we call open source intelligence. Now, when it comes to open source intelligence basically means that everything is already on the net. If I end up finding that information that is on the net, it is not a breach of anything. A person has already made it available. You see, most of the times when they tell you people to read, when you download an app and they tell you to read the contracts and all of that, we don't. we all just we all just somehow just click on I accept. Some of the contracts end up telling you that they are going to sell your information, but you don't know. You log into an application and then you just click I accept. You don't read whatever they are telling you. I accept. That's all. Then you just move on. You are selling your information deliberately. You don't know. You are selling your information deliberately. You you are selling your information deliberately. So a tool like Truecaller, it is not actually hacking into any database to do that. It is just using data that has been made available. They normally go and buy data from these network providers, because already before you yourself you even wanted to go and get the network provider, you agreed to everything that came with their system. That's what we do. We agree to everything that comes with their system. Then at the end of the day, we complain. So it wasn't actually just it wasn't actually, that's not a breach. Now it will become a breach. There is something called passive OSINT and then active OSINT. So it's OSINT is basically open source intelligence, okay? Open source intelligence. So passive OSINT is when a person just stays on Google and then begins to use Google for stuff like getting your name and all of that. If I just search something like I think something of this sort, you can go for LinkedIn. Just looking at this LinkedIn page alone, there is information I can see over here. I can see his face. I can see the number of followers he has. I can see the schools that he went to. So now, this information is online. If I come and gather the information like this, I've not actually done anything bad. Now, you see, LinkedIn is actually a very good site for hacking. LinkedIn is a very good site for open source intelligence. Now, I'm giving you another tip right now. If you end up entering into hacking and then you want to actually hack a person, one of the places, or a company, one of the places you have to come to is look at the person's LinkedIn page. People don't pay attention to the pictures they post online. They are going to post, they'll realize that there is, so I know that Eugene went to George Grant University of Mines and Technology. But let's say he has posted his company's work. Okay, let me just use. See, right now they've showed me who Eugene has connected with. There is Eunice Kafui Kunka. She also went to University of Mines and Technology. Now this already, I can see an attack from this particular one. I can impersonate Eunice Kafui. This information alone, there is a tool called Multigo. I'm saying a lot also, please. There's a tool called Multigo, and that Multigo, just by knowing Eunice Kafui Kunka's name, I can get access to her emails, those who send her emails, her contact number, her friends at the workplace, and all of that. I can get access to all those information. Now I know that Eugene knows Kunka. So the next thing I can do is to begin to impersonate Kunka. Now I have access to Kunka's email. There are ways that you can go about spoofing a person's email. We'll talk about spoofing later on, don't worry. We can spoof a person's email, and when you send an email to Eugene, Eugene is going to see that email as from Eunice Kafui Kunka. When he sees that, and whatever information I send to him, I add the malicious file. The moment he clicks on that, he's hacked. I didn't use anything that is making me have contact with Eugene or with Kunka. I was just behind my laptop and I used information that is generally on the net. So when a person does that information gathering using anything that is on the net, anything at all that is on the net, that is not an issue. It only becomes an issue when the person engages actively to hack the person. So it is only becoming an issue when you are hacked. It will only become an issue when you are hacked. So I think the question concerning the Truecaller, I think for you would get to understand that aspect. It's not actually a breach because you've not been hacked. It's just that the person got your information from a popular how will I even put it? A database that's even online. Even your phone number, he used it to register on Twitter, and it's part of the contacts. So a person can even go there and still see it. Stuff of that sort, just by doing a bit of OSINT. There is something called Google hacking. Oh God, you people are making me talk about things I didn't plan on talking about. Whale hacking is you have said a lot of us don't know how to use Google. Oh. Google is deep. Google alone can hack things. I'll not go into that over here. We will not. Let me just talk about it, but I'll not demonstrate that to you so that when we end up getting the course out, you can register for that one as well. Google hacking, when it comes to Google hacking, a person can just sit in his room, then type in some few words, and the person will be looking into someone's webcam. Just just by Googling, you know, just by Googling, just by Googling, you will be looking into someone's webcam, and that is not actually hacking. The person made it public. You see, if you are someone over here and then you end up using default passwords for your, especially you are a programmer, you end up using default passwords for your websites, you end up using default passwords for your applications that you've built, or you end up buying an IoT device. And by buying an IoT device, you don't even configure that device very well, and you end up using the defaults. Please, you are at a great risk of being hacked. And that activity that you've actually done is very stupid, because for default things, they are always online. Default things are always online. So anybody at all can just come and Google and find default things. And if he knows the right things to do, the person can just log into your system and have access to your system. And that is actually not actually breaching, because it is public information that I just used. Oh my goodness, hacking is sweet. Oh, I'll not lie to you. I'll not lie to you. I will not lie to you. And it is frustrating too. Let me look at other questions. What information are you getting from us right now? You know, you just spoiled my plan. You just spoiled my plan. I was planning that for tomorrow's class, I would pay attention to one of the names on this particular call, and then I would build a whole attack surface on the person, and I'll come and present it to you guys before we start with the class. You just spoiled my plan. That was what I was planning to do. I'll just build a whole attack surface on. I'll not actually hack. I'll build a whole attack surface. Then when I come and I use the person as an example, and the person can give me access to, the person can tell me, okay, you can hack me. Then I'll proceed from there, because I'm not the kind of person that is supposed to work outside illegal means. I signed contracts, so the person that took me through training has made me sign contracts that will not make me breach that thing. I don't want to find myself in uh, jail, Charlie. I don't want to find myself in jail. So, and my boss himself would not even allow me to go to jail. It would be very stupid of me to do something of that sort. So I'll just build an attack surface. So that's it. But let's see how that goes. I'm quite busy too, so I don't know how that will go. I think for most of the questions I've answered them right. Will you take us through the app that gives you every single information about a particular data? I will not do that through this course. I'll do it in an intermediate course. That's for people who have gotten to a level that they can understand that. Otherwise, I'll give you information that you are not built on a solid foundation. And I already spoke at length about how it is important to actually be built on a solid foundation. If you're not built on a solid foundation, if you get up learning advanced stuff, or you just learn how to use tools, you have issues. Now, one of the things about cybersecurity is that it works on the knowledge of networking, a lot on networking. Most of the things are networking. I already told you guys that when we talk about cyber, it has to do with networks and systems. So most of the things are networking. OSI model. I'm sure most of you that did computer science or are still reading computer science in school, they took you through OSI model. And that's one of the things that most of you didn't even pay attention to. But that is where hacking actually works. OSI model. OSI model is the main thing that actually hacking works on. So Charlie, it's important to pay attention to network security and actually networking as a whole. But let's continue with this. I want to show some few things now. So we'll talk about few terminologies, about 5 or 6, and then we can continue. I'll come back to the chats if there are any questions. I'll come back to the chats if there are any questions, no problem. So now, as I was saying, the moment you become attached to someone, let me give you this example of a boyfriend and a girlfriend. So let's say, boys don't actually like to be emotional, but ladies mostly are emotional, and mostly emotions in ladies can be two things for them. They can be a point of strength, and they can also be a point of weakness. Now, when they are a point of weakness and your lover ends up knowing that this is a weakness, what that does is that it creates a likelihood, or it creates a potential event where that weakness can be used against you. So now pay attention, there was a weakness, and that weakness creates a potential event, and that potential event or a hypothetical event can be used against you. Let me just answer this question before we continue. Is Ubuntu good for hacking? Every Linux distro is good for hacking. Actually, a lot of people begin to ask the questions and debate which Linux distro is good for hacking. Every OS actually is good for hacking, but I don't recommend Windows most of the time because Windows has a lot of issues. So I'll just tell you to actually stick to anything Kali. You can hack on Ubuntu. You just have to install the tools. But most of the times you use Kali because Kali has most of the tools already installed on it for you. So you just have to just go and run through that. So it seems most cyber experts use different OS, especially Linux. What's the secret? The secret is they are used to this particular one they want to use, and that's what they use. So that's all. Yeah. Please, we'll come to direct questions. Let me go back to this. So now you have a weakness, and the weakness has created hypothetical event where that weakness can be used against you to cause harm to you. Now, when we talk about the weakness in itself, that is showing that emotional state in a woman to a guy that is actually very wicked in terms of men that are wicked in relationships. I'm using men because men can never win against ladies. Men can never win against ladies. Women are always right. So when the man is wicked towards his girlfriend, and then he identifies that the emotions are weaknesses, and then he has a potential event in his mind that he's going to use that particular thing against the lady. That thing is called a threat, but the weakness is a vulnerability. I think it is quite clear. Every weakness is a vulnerability, but the potential use of that weakness against the person is a threat. Now, when that threat is used against the person, now this is no more a potential event. So in the event where the weakness is used against the person, then we are talking about an exploit. So an exploit takes advantage of a vulnerability. So in short, like someone just said, love is a vulnerability. That's very true. Love is a complete vulnerability, but then it is worth it. So don't. Nobody, God never created anybody to be isolated and not to love. Love is the reason why God created you. So he already placed the vulnerability in you so that you find him. So Charlie, that one there. That's why human beings don't find satisfaction until they find God. I don't care whether you're an atheist or not. I've said it. So let's come back to this particular class. So a point where a weakness is used against a particular person, that is an exploit. So you can see in this image, this particular image over here, we have a person that looks like it's being controlled by something. So that thing basically is an exploit when a person has become a puppet, or a system has become a puppet in the hands of a hacker. That is an exploit. So the person uses the weaknesses of the systems against that thing. Let me demo something quickly to you. Then we move. Okay. Uh, okay. Let me demo something quickly so we move. Okay. This is a Windows machine, and actually the attack we are coming to see right now, I'm just trying to explain something small. Okay. Would use it to demo something quickly. I'm not going to break down the few things that I'm doing over here. I'll talk through them, but I'm not going to really talk about them. So just look through what I'm doing. And my machine is quite far from me, so I'm suffering to type. But before then, now what we are coming to do is to try to hack a Windows machine. We are just going to do a very short thing, like a quick demo. Now, what happened was that there was one time in history where I think 2017 or so, the National Security Agency (NSA) decided to create they decided to create. Okay, I think I didn't get the IP right. They decided to create exactly. I didn't get it right. They decided to create this exploit that will take. So basically, an exploit takes advantage of a weakness. Don't forget that. So there's a protocol called SMB. Now, remember I said networking is very important. We'll get to that point, a networking session. We'll get to that point where we talk about protocols, but not in today's session. Not in today's session at all. So we have SMB. SMB is a protocol that is mainly responsible for establishing connection between a server and a client. So a client can make requests to a server, and a server can give information to the client, just like in a restaurant where I come like a client and the waiter is serving me. So basically that's what happens. But the protocol that handles that is called SMB. Now, Windows Microsoft didn't know about this vulnerability. So they actually sat down. NSA sat down and decided to build this exploit to take advantage of the weakness in that system using the protocol SMB. Now, when we talk about ports are more like doors or doorways in a network. Anybody that understands how ports work can understand how to take control of a system easily using an exploit or using basic stuff just by understanding how ports work. I think this one is almost done. It's almost done. 99.99%. Should just show. So now this attack that we are coming to show was actually brought by NSA to hack Office, any Windows at all that starts from Windows 7, actually from Windows XP to Windows 10. Why is this thing not showing up? It's supposed to from Windows XP to Windows 10. It's supposed to show have access to the system by using this exploit that we are coming to demonstrate right now. I don't know why it is taking a lot of time. It's supposed to come by now. It's completed and started again, but no problem. That's the frustration that comes with hacking sometimes. So what they did was that they took advantage of this system, and for 5 years they had access to any systems that were running on this particular vulnerability. Now, this is what happened. Let me explain what I just did. I ran a scan on the Windows machine. I'll not go deep into that. Let me just tell you. I ran a scan on the Windows machine, and I said you should check for all ports on the Windows machine that are open. I know what we are coming to attack anyway. I know what exactly we are coming to attack because this is a very old machine. So I'm not coming to use any live system to come and do that because that will breach contracts unless a person actually allows me to do that. So we normally use virtualization for stuff of this sort. So I ran a scan using this thing, and I specified the IP address, and then I asked that it should give me information concerning the system. Now it is telling me that this system is actually a Windows system, and it is giving me the NetBIOS name. Now, for someone that has been in the field for some time now, this is what I would do. I would copy this particular name and then go and research about it. We'll be done soon, don't worry. Yeah, in about 5 minutes, I should be done with this particular demonstration, and then we can continue tomorrow. So now it is showing you that it is showing a NetBIOS name. I can just go and search for this particular thing online. There are a lot of exploits that can be found on this particular thing just here, but that's not what I want to demonstrate over here. Now, this information that we found over here, they are important, but right now I don't want us to, the writings are too small. Please, can you see the screen better now? I think it should be better now. If you're using a machine, it should be better now. So now, this information is very important because right now we know that it is the OS is Windows 7 Ultimate 7601 Service Pack. Now, I can just go online and search on Windows. I think the magnifier should be somewhere. Just use the Control Plus. How are you guys not seeing this thing? Because it's very huge at my end, though. Are you guys not seeing it? Trying to do the Control Plus, right? It's not working. Let me see. Why my system is doing this thing? Resize this as well. It's at maximize. It's still not going to work because please, I'm trying to Control Plus and my system is not allowing me. So if you can also just zoom in your screen, it will be far better for me. I beg you. So it will be far better for me. I don't know why the system is not allowing me to zoom into it, because I know if I do Windows Logo Plus or Control Plus, it should zoom in, but it's not doing that. So let's just still same issue. So I beg of you, I beg of you, I beg of you. Okay, someone says I should enlarge it in preferences. So let me just enlarge that in preferences. Okay. If you can see stuff, my eyes are not seeing stuff. So if you can see stuff for me, please point me out to it, okay? Eyes are not seeing stuff at the moment. Okay, general command allow text.
Yeah, so your general, they use system fixed width font. So you untick and then you could change it. Yeah. The size, okay. I think that works. Oh, that's
my goodness. It's extremely huge.
Yeah. So get something like 18 or 17. That's it.
Please, everybody can see the screen now, right? I think this is extremely huge for my eyes. Myself, I can't even see what is on the screen.
Yes, please. You can.
So let me just reduce it a bit. Okay, I think this one is okay. I think this one is okay.
Yeah, a full screen on the phone.
So now, I think I've spent quite a number of time. So let me just use the next 5 minutes to finish everything that I'm supposed to do. And then, now, normally as a hacker, what you do is that when you find something of this sort, where is the nmap scan that I just did? but the things are so big. Okay, this aspect. When you see these things, you pay attention to the ports, you pay attention to the services that are running on the those various ports, and you pay attention to the versions. Now, as someone that has been in the field, I would advise you that you should just take a version of this sort and then you go and search for it. So Microsoft, blah blah blah. You take it and then you just go to Firefox. Within Firefox, you just search for this particular name with stuff like, so you just search and say exploit. I'm showing you how to go about this particular thing. So right now you can see they are mentioning MS17010. This was what was actually done by the NSC. So we are going to employ that. I will not go through every process over here. So that's when we end up having the intermediate and advanced classes, you can look at something of that sort. So there is something called MSF console, and MSF console basically hosts a lot of exploits. And if I want to attack the system, I can just go into MSF console. Normally, Kali updates the system every single time with new exploits based on how things are going. It will update the system based on new exploits. So it will give you this beautiful interface and then show you this particular thing. Now it is telling you that there are 2,294 exploits and there are 968 payloads. Now payloads basically are just codes that can be used to have access to, they are malicious codes that can be used to have access to a particular system. We'll get into that later on. So now what I want to do is to search. I think everybody saw that it was called Eternal Blue. So I can search Eternal Blue. When I search Eternal Blue, now it is telling me I can use 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But right now I want to check whether the system is actually vulnerable to this particular thing. So what I'll use is the auxiliary scanner. What is the auxiliary scanner? Okay, so that is number 3. If I use the auxiliary scanner, we'll get through this in the advanced course. I just want to show you how it is important to be updating your system, because Windows 10 is also a part of the things that this particular exploit can have access to. So updating your machine is actually very important. So now I want to see the options that I can set. And there is something called R host. That is the system that you want to attack. So we'll set the R host to 192.168.217.133. I think that's what it was. That was what the IP for the system was. So now if I show the options again, I'll realize that this part of it has been set. So now I can check whether it is actually vulnerable to the system or not. So now it is telling me that the host is likely vulnerable. So it's giving me hope that this system can actually be hacked by this particular thing. But this is just a scanner, just to tell me whether I can actually hack the system. But right now, I still want to hack the system. So I'm going to search for the exploit again, and I'm going to use the first one, exploit Windows SMB. So yes, exploit Windows SMB, use 0. Now it has set the payload defaultly to Windows. There are several payloads, but it has set this particular one to this particular payload. We are not going to go through all of that. A lot of payloads. I'm coming. Let me see whether when I split this screen for. Okay, I would have to go through the whole process again. Okay, let me just show you something. MSF console. Good. So it has set this particular payload to Windows SMB MS1701 blah blah blah. No, to the Metapeta shell. Now if you search payloads on this, you realize that there are a lot. These are all payloads on the right of our screen. All of these things that you are seeing over here are all payloads. We are not going to go through all of that over here, so that's not the point of this particular one. I was just showing you. Now it has set the payload to this particular one. Okay. So now what I would want to do is to see the options that are available. So show options, and I have to set the R host again to 192.168.217.133. And then I think the L host was already set for me. Okay, so I have access to the L host already. So if I have access to the L host already, then I can just run the attack. So now we are hoping it actually gains access to the system. There are some things called grooms, and grooms basically means that it can actually try to gain access to the system without gaining access to it. But this particular one, it has actually succeeded in gaining access to it. So win. So now within this particular system, now we are actually in the Windows system. Okay, if I print the working directory, you can see that it is showing that C Windows System 32. There are a lot of things a person can do over here. Now, as an attacker, one of the things that if I want to attack someone that is really close to me, one thing that people can actually do is to search for webcam. You search for the webcam list. Now, there is none found because my machine doesn't have a webcam. But if there is a webcam list, the person will just select that webcam list, and that's all. The person has access to that particular webcam and just sits behind and be looking at the person's system. Another thing the person can do is to start a process. You can start any process at all. Let's start the calculator process in the Windows file, and so that you see something. So let me go back to the Windows. Now you can see that something opened over here, and it is telling me, let me view the message. Now, can you see? The calculator was viewed over here just from someone's system. And if I'm a wise attacker, what I'll do is to view the processes that the system is running. And when I view the processes that the system is running, it is going to show me all the processes that the system is running. But one very good thing I'll do for myself is to find the Explorer system, the service, the Explorer service. I think that is here. It is at, I think, 2020, right? Then I'll just say, so right now, I'll just migrate my my process to 2020. Oh, that's the process because I can't actually see it. So mine was from 772. Now it's at 2020. So now it means I've attached myself to the person's system as Explorer. So anything at all that I do, when the person actually goes to the system, is not going to see a malicious thing. He's just going to see one of the processes that has been running for a while now. Now, another thing an attacker can do is to just get the hashes. So it means there is an administrator for the Windows. There is a user for the Windows. There is a home group user for the Windows. Now, the hashes over here, these things, they actually house the passwords. And if a person wants to hack the system, all that a person has to do is to copy this into a text file. When you type somewhere in the Kali something like hashcat, then let me just show you the help so that you end up seeing the help. Then you specify the algorithm that he wants to use. This thing is too big, we can't see the screen, but he is going to use hashcat. Save this particular hash in a text file and just use that thing against the system. So it is easy to gain access to Windows machines that are not updating themselves. Every single time exploits are coming, and that is why they give us updates. Please, I'm showing you this particular thing because a lot of you will be like, oh, I don't want to update my system. Please update your system every single moment. Update your system. Update your system. It is important. We beg you. There are a lot of things that can be done with just this thing, just this particular thing. Just this particular thing. I can clear every record just by doing clear ref. It will clear every record that is on the system, the Windows system. It has cleared 462 records from application, and 1,722 records from system, 467 records from security. So this basically, I'll come and do my stupid stuff online, and now just clear everything. So when you end up coming to go through the system, you don't find anything at all. Someone is having access to your system and you're behind your laptop and you don't know. Please, let's watch these few things. Let's watch these few things. Let's watch these few things. We would end it with this particular demonstration. I wanted us to talk about risk and 0 day, and then a bit of catfish, and then stuff, and then have some questions. But we'll keep that for other days. So yeah, we've ended today's session. If you have questions, okay, Bright, hello, Bright.
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah. So thanks very much for the lengthy um, presentation. I think at the end, some people are watching movies. Uh, yes. It's just trying to show you what goes on behind the scenes when people send you an email that I have all your files. Send the money and get the files back. Yes. So these are some of the things that happen. Um, and I think if you have any questions, you could type it in the comment section. Yes, we are done. Time up, so we should be quick about it. Can everybody hear me though? If you can hear me, you could type in the comment section so I know, or you could send some emojis. Okay, you can hear me. So, any other questions? The time is up. We'd like to end today's session, and I think you have learned a lot. You could just send the link you received through your email to other people so that they join tomorrow's session. Imagine this is just the first day. This is just the first day, and I guess you have learned a lot. So there's more to come, and we entreat you to invite others to partake. And I think the more you partake, the more your fundamentals are built. Then later on, you could maybe be interested to sign up onto the intermediate and then the advanced course. I'll leave you with one thing. Okay. You said, how will you contact us? Contact us via the email we contacted you with. Everybody receive an email, so send us an email just like we did to you. Okay. Then I'll leave you with this one thing. You see, all the time you trust people, you tell the person, I trust you, that's why I'm telling you. I'm not supposed to tell any other person. Think about it. Don't you realize that those people also have others they trust? So what it means is that, at the end of the day, your information is out there. So, yeah, the recorded video will find a way to get it to you. So, no, Zach is anonymous. Text us via the email we got to you. Um, okay, let's do it this way. You see, some of the questions, we'll take it at the intro for tomorrow's presentation. Okay, I think it is time we end it here. Thank you all for coming, and then see you tomorrow. Invite other people. We look forward to seeing you. Zach, I think you could now stop sharing, and then we are out. Thank you, everyone. Bye.